السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Having come from the DPI Summit this week, where I saw a lot of G20 countries convening, meeting a lot of delegates from all over the African continent, Namibia, Kenya, Zimbabwe. Oh, it's a bit soft. Meeting a lot of the G20 countries throughout this week, it was really inspiring and amazing to see global communities growing together and learning as governments. Specifically, I met some delegates from Palestine, we met from Ukraine, we met from Pakistan, and a number of other countries. And the whole consensus was governments are working on similar problems across the globe. So the term coined is digital public infrastructure. It refers to a set of foundational digital government systems that forms the backbone of modern societies. Really, I like to think of it as roads. So when building public roads, the government is building physical infrastructure that is enabling access to other infrastructure. By way of an example, when the roads are ready and ready to be used, you then have access to health centers, you have access to clinics, and you have access to commercial entities and businesses all over. So while in itself roads being physical public infrastructure, it gives you access to other infrastructure. In a very similar manner, DPI has three core components. You have digital identity. Oh, I see I don't have the slide thing here. Just give me a second. Testing, 1, 2, down. There we go. Yeah, so there's three core components. You have digital ID, digital payments, and the data exchange. And these three underpinning systems provide core services to every other personalized services that a resident receives. By way of an example, when we're renewing our driver's license, you need to provide an ID to show that you are actually that person who should be renewing. That check goes from Department of Transportation to the Department of Home Affairs to check against the population registry to make sure that you are a citizen registered in there. And then that particular exchange of data goes through the secure data exchange, so it's the interdepartmental department sharing of data. And then last but not least, there needs to be some sort of government payment mechanism. So you could think about every service requiring these three core components. And before I show a video in a minute, earlier this week, under the DCDT, so Department of Communication and Digital Technology, Minister Solly Malatsi showcased an application on Tuesday, which is a digital driver's license. So renewing our driver's license, which we all know the pain and the process of sitting hours, sometimes having to take off work and so on. What would usually take 2 or 3 hours can now take 2 or 3 minutes. And the main thing was we had less than 90 days to build the application, and it's less so about the driver's license, but more about the railway government is building so that other sectors, including government, public sector, market players, can build on top of this railway. Can we go to the video quickly? So this was the video they showcased on Tuesday in the DPI Summit of the app working live in action and actually renewing your driver's license.
So first going to come here to the services tab, click on renew. I'm going to put in our user's ID number, like so.
I think you can remove the voiceover. Oh, one of our developers put this together, but whilst that's been captured, again, this is a real system tied to Department of Transportation renewing your driver's license. Meaning, when I did it earlier, and I'll showcase on my phone, you actually end up with the digital driver's license that the SAP Police Department can scan, that NATIS or Department of Transportation colleagues can use, and more importantly, hopefully in the future, rental companies, private sector can all scan from this. So we got a few things in here, an actual signature from a person and their ID, a payment gateway, and you end up with a code like this. This is your QR code that the department can use for scanning, and soon you'll see the wallet you'll have in your application with all your details. So again, a real credential, a digital credential done by Department of Transportation that can be used in minutes. This was built in less than 90 days using open source software. In fact, it was more like 6 weeks. The more important part is that it's not so much about the driving license. Rather, we built the rails for anything to be digitized, including your matric certificate, your smart ID, your passport. All of this can go through a real payment gateway and be built on top of. Okay, so that's where we're going in terms of digital services. I wanted to actually focus on the data exchange component because it's something that's not really material to us as citizens, but it's the interdepartmental data sharing that's happening to make this all work. Just to give an example of what we were trying to solve in the data exchange, so government data currently exists in isolated silos, maybe not a government issue in particular, but large corporation in general, and this really hampers streamlined research, evidence-based policy making, and government operations. Just anecdotal, we haven't found a lack of data in government. There's been a lot of data. And yeah, this is just in general. So 14 months ago, we worked with National Treasury to see how interdepartmental data can be shared. And when it came to a secure data exchange, we started off at a data lake. And when you're thinking about enterprise architecture, this is like one of the first things they throw at you. Some sort of tech that's supposed to solve all the issues. However, very quickly we realized that a single piece of tech wouldn't solve the issue. And secondly, centrally managing all of government data is, a bad security practice, let alone even viable just by the sheer amount of data that needs to be shared within government. We then went back and we said, okay, what are other governments doing? We looked at many governments around the world, and we saw some open source platforms being readily available, particularly Rwanda's Irembo platform, India's Stack, Brazil and UK's open data portals. And while these were particularly impressive, they didn't address the secure data exchange issue in particular. We then looked at Estonia's X-Road. And move on to the next slide. Estonia's X-Road, by definition, is a secure, decentralized data exchange platform enabling seamless interoperability. Now, I was told by Ismail to make this not as technical as we can, but it is a tech conference after all, so we're going to have to dive into it. We then looked at, okay, so it seems to solve the issue of data exchange, and it's working in Estonia. Estonia is 99% digitized. The only physical paper left in Estonia is your death certificate. Every other service is available digitally to their citizens. The second thing we face in government is open source. When we mention open source, we get asked, okay, what are the license costs? We have to say there's no license cost, or depending on the license achieved. The second thing is we have to be very cautious about who's backing these open source providers, because that's another layer. And the third thing is, is the software well maintained? Is it running at scale? Is it interoperable? So we thoroughly looked into this, and we met with the NIS Foundation, who is a nonprofit organization maintaining X-Road. And in particular, they have 3 member countries, Iceland, Estonia, and Finland. And together, they contribute towards the core of maintaining X-Road. I'm going to jump over the analogy fairly quickly because I want to move on to how this relates to Ummah. So let's move on to what X-Road provides. Okay, so in short, X-Road provides a trusted transport network where organizations maintain their own security endpoints, data travels in standardized secure containers, and a central authority maintains order without controlling the data. And this is how government operates. Each department has their own IT infrastructure and various mechanisms to share data, and they don't work in a centralized government in that sense in terms of technology. Okay, so I want to rewind very quickly. It was the time of Umar radiallahu anh. His Khilafah had just started, and he ruled for over 10 years in the Muslim Ummah at that time. So 1400 years ago, I'm going to put a map up of, there we go, of his conquests. And you can see in the middle region over here towards Medina and Makkah, that was mainly where the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ conquered. Then Abu Bakr radiallahu anh increased from there. And from then onwards, in Umar's tenure, literally over 10 years and a little bit more, major victories were happening with the Muslim armies. Major parts of Persia was conquered, Egypt, Palestine, and many other lands were opening. So while particularly impressive and the Ummah was growing fairly rapidly, this came with the administrative constraint. New provinces were being established, new civil servants were coming into the forefront, and you had your head of state, your governors, your qadis, your zakah collectors, and many other public servants were being put into posts. So at this particular time, Umar radiallahu anh said, we need a way to efficiently maintain on who is being paid what. And to give a very quick example of what the Baytul Mal or the treasury consisted of at that time for your sources of income, you had zakah, jizya, kharaj, ushur, fay, and ghanima. Zakah, we generally know, jizya and kharaj, tax from non-Muslims, land and agricultural tax, and booty as well. These were the main sources of income for the treasury at the time and had to be dispersed to pay all public servants. So, just a few years into the conquest of Persia, Al-Walid bin Hisham suggested to Umar, "O Amir al-Mu'mineen, organize the people into registers, Diwan system named in Persia as the kings of Persia do." So Umar was cautious about this, and he didn't want to imitate foreign systems blindly. But he then consulted the Sahaba and realized that this was something of major benefit. He later on said that this is a good organization and not imitation. We will adapt it, adopt it, and we will adopt what serves justice and abandon what contradicts Islam. He therefore adopted this particular system. A brief overview, Diwan literally means official registers, and it meant writing down every single bit of record about who was paid what, on what date, every recipient, every widow, every qadi, every judge, what month, what time, what date they were paid in, and this was written in Persian in every particular state. Now at the time, the underpinning thing was it didn't change the way wealth was distributed. It just made it more efficient, and they collected registries like this. So just with a few minutes left, so I just wanted to draw a few parallels between the Diwan system adopted by Umar radiallahu anh and the modern DPI system. So it was centralized yet transparent data systems like today's DPI. Umar radiallahu anh used the Diwan system to unify state records to manage identity. Secondly, it was open collaboration and standardization. The Diwan system borrowed on existing concepts, and he didn't have to start from scratch. It was scalable and inclusive, so Persia was fairly large at the time, so when the Muslims were growing, this was a really good system to adopt. And accountability and auditability, like digital ledgers and e-governance today, the Diwan system ensured financial transparency. I just wanted to have a quick look into the future. I know we got less than 1 minute left. So where were we going with the data exchange? We looked at how Estonia is operating at the moment, and Estonia is a country of 1.5 million people. We 55, 60 million plus. When we were looking at the most popular services accessed by citizens, we saw health information system and healthcare being the most popular, your business registry and your population registry. But actually, over 90% of this came from the private sector. And it was very interesting on the path we're walking down, like many other countries. I'm really hoping with Ismail to draw some examples on how we can do this within the Ummah Tech and Ummah in general. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.